So last week I unboxed Warcry Catacombs. It's a beautiful box with some beautiful miniatures, some gorgeous terrain and some really fun new rules to add to Warcry. But there are a few problems with it, and in this video I'm going to talk about how I would solve them. So if you saw my video last week when I unboxed Warcry Catacombs, I did discuss some of the problems I have with it as somebody who already owns the original Warcry starter set. I'll go over them again briefly in the course of the video. Overall, I am happy that I've bought this. It's got lots in there that I'm going to get tons of enjoyment out of. But there are a few problems with it, and those problems really become apparent when you ask yourself the question, who is this for? And to my mind, there are three types of people who could potentially want to buy this. The first one is the person who this box is absolutely perfect for, and that would be somebody who maybe is into Warcry already. They have a friend who owns the starter set, or they've played at a gaming club that already has the starter set, and they have access to all of the battle plan cards and full terrain for the overground stuff through that, and they want their own Warcry starter set, but they don't necessarily want the same as their friends got. Perfect. That's absolutely perfect for you. The second type of person is me. Somebody who is already pretty heavily into Warcry. They've got the original starter set, and the problems, as I discussed last week, are basically not quite, but almost half of this is stuff I already have. I already have the core rulebook. I already have the overground terrain. I already have the tokens and the dice. The third type of person, and the person that I didn't think about last week because I was reviewing it from my perspective, is a brand new player. So somebody who has heard of Warcry, thought it sounds interesting, and thinks, yep, great, I want to get into Warcry, I'm going to buy the Warcry starter set. And the problem for that person comes with this book. This book is the same book that comes with the original release of Warcry, and if you're a brand new player, you'll find stuff in here that just does not apply to somebody who has Catacombs. It talks about the battle plan cards. There's no battle plan cards in Catacombs. The dungeon battles work completely differently, and for the overground battles it gives you some tables to use instead, so they have kind of covered that, but talking about these cards that just don't exist in the box, I can see that being a little confusing and frustrating. It talks about chaotic beasts. There are no chaotic beasts in Catacombs. Obviously you can buy some and use them, but it talks about them as if they're included, and they're not. And the other big problem is all the convergences in here. They use the overground terrain setup using the full set of terrain, which you will only have half of. So I can just see it being a little confusing and a little frustrating for a brand new Warcry player to be reading through a book with a bunch of things that just don't quite apply to you. So how would I go about fixing this? I've had a few thoughts. The first and simplest option that would fix the issues, at least for new players, would be just to ditch the core book. Take your Warcry Catacombs book, take all the relevant information out of it, and just pop that in there, and then you've got a book that makes complete sense to someone who's brand new to the game. The other way that would solve the issues, for me at least, would be to have this released as an expansion instead of a core set. That would basically mean it being a smaller box at a lower price point with just the dungeon terrain, a dungeon board, and the warbands. And they could still charge a fair whack for this. It's still quite a lot of stuff. But it would be less frustrating from my perspective than getting a box with a bunch of stuff in it I've already got. The third way, and the one I'm most fond of, and the one I think solves problems for all types of players, would have been to just have this box focus on dungeon battles and forget the overground stuff entirely. This is Warcry Catacombs. It takes place in dungeons, and if you want to play overground battles, then that's what the original Warcry starter set was for. What they need to do for that is just make the board, the other side of the board, a different type of dungeon. There are some brilliant classic dungeons in existence you could take inspiration from. Lose all the overground terrain. Then instead you could either put in some different alternative styles of dungeon terrain. That would have been quite cool. Maybe even some dungeon specific chaotic beast. That'd be brilliant. And again, just combine the rule books so it's all stuff that's just relevant to Catacombs. I think that would be the best way to have sort of headed off any of these complaints I've heard from other people in the hobby community as well. So yeah, as much as I love it, those are the problems. That's how I'd go about solving them. Do you have any ideas that you think are better ways to solve the issues with this box? Do you think it's perfect the way it is? Let me know down in the comments. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.